Hi. So, okay, we're all here and we'll just start. Before we do the recording, if there's anything any of you would like to talk about from yesterday, any thoughts or questions, anything like that?
There was a thought on the resolution part yesterday on how
Ah,
you were saying two people have two kinds of resolutions in their thought processes when it comes to mutual fulfillment. And eventually, the third part, evaluation, that's a very trickier space when it comes to the close relationships. And sometimes it's completely onto the extreme sides of how you perceive things and how you want to build your life around. So yeah,
hmm.
stuck. And I was thinking in the morning that I have to bring this point up. That's what the call happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets difficult at the part of mutual evaluation because we can keep thinking, oh, I did well. What did I do? I'm living out the values.
Right.
Yeah, so that's why from that we find out that it's not like a process that happens on an event basis. It is a process that will have to happen on a continual basis, where you have these conversations again and again. And so, over a period of time, if there is some disagreement or some difference in opinion, we can both hear each other out and take that feedback and work accordingly. So, and then slowly, we can become better, and maybe our understanding of the other can improve. For instance, we may feel like, oh, I respect the other person. Why do they feel disrespected? But if they feel that, oh, but when I'm with you, I don't feel disrespected. Now, I don't feel respected. This is something when this conversation exchange happens, that is the mutual evaluation happening, where you might not have had any mal intent to disrespect the other or anything like that. Um, but for some reason or the other is feeling disrespected. Now, of course, it can happen that the other person is mistaken to a large extent. But the fact is that if you are someone who is dedicated to living with justice, you will care about also why they are mistaking it so, and then you will have reason to check within yourself, is it really truly a fact that I do fully respect them the way that they want to be respected? And then the question then arises, what really is respect? Before that, we have no need to question this also, right? It is only when there is this sort of disagreement, then the question arises, okay, what do we understand by respect? And then both of us can engage in this journey. And once we have an understanding of what respect is, then we can both together check whether that is actually happening. So here respect is defined as correct evaluation.
Okay.
So when someone evaluates, so when I evaluate you correctly, that means I'm not over evaluating you, I'm not under evaluating you, and I'm not misevaluating you. Then that is respect towards you. Because when I over evaluate you, you will feel burdened by it. It might feel good for a temporary period duration, but it'll also feel burdensome because you know that it's not real actually. You don't feel confident in my judgment of you. So you feel like if I don't live up to it, she might not respect me anymore. So it is a pressure to live up to that judgment.
Right.
And so that leads to a lot of lack of confidence in that relationship, lack of trust also. So, that often happens with children. Parents, with the aim or the intention of respecting their child, over evaluate or overestimate their abilities. Ha, Manjuji.
That finished? Okay. Can it be that you feel loved but not respected, or vice versa?
So love
Like
is,
this. Hmm.
yeah, so that's a very important question. And a lot of people have really delved deeply into it. So many people say very easily that, oh, I love you, even parents to their children, they say very easily that I completely love you. Everything I've done for you is out of love. But the child feels hurt and unhappy and dissatisfied, sometimes even exploited. And the parent insists that no, it was all done out of love. And it's not just between parents and children. I'm saying, but even in parents and children, of course, in different other relationships, there is always a chance of being mistaken. But at least in the parent-child relationship, we may feel like the intention, it starts out with such purity, right? But then when such conversations happen between people who feel like they've given all their love and people who, the receivers, who feel like the love was not what they received, these conversations have led to a lot of different sorts of analysis of the difference between what people are calling love and what it actually is. And what it turns out is what parents think of as love, or whatever the giver often thinks of it as love, is actually something else. It could be something like care, like, they're very concerned about the well-being of the child's health and the child, or if something more than that, then they might be very concerned that the child have a secure future. So they've done everything for that, but they're not paying attention to how the child is actually feeling in the present. So, and so whatever is done in the name of love is not considerate of the child's present. And so that is not felt as love, because when you experience love, it will feel like, oh, this person sees me and understands me completely, and they're doing everything they can to meet me where I am right now. That is what is actually felt like love when it is received. But often that when people even want to give love, that is not what is happening. They might be giving a lot of value to this person. They might hold them very close, like they need them a lot. They really like spending time with them. But these are all different values. They're like, so if you really like to spend time with someone, that is not love, that is affection. And in fact, affection is also more than that. But if you really like to take care of them,
It
we
may
really
be,
can.
sorry, it
Huh.
may be need also. No, that kind. Like you want to spend time with a person for your own happiness.
Yeah, exactly. So
Mhm.
what you're doing it for also, that's a good point. That also tells us a bit about which value it is. So therefore, if we want to see whether it's love or something else, we have to have a clear understanding of the different values. And then we can say, oh, this was love. This was not love. It was care. It was affection, but it was not yet love. This was um, I mean, the English words are all sound very similar to one another because it has not been distinguished as well in English. Um, but like in Hindi, we can say that, oh, prem is different from mamta, from vatsalya, from sneh, and all, these are all slightly different feelings. These are all slightly different intents and bhavs, sentiments. And so all of us need to come to a collective understanding of what these values really are. And the need to understand these values only arises when we undergo this process of mutual evaluation. Otherwise, we can go on thinking that my mamta and vatsalya towards my child is love. That's all love is. But that's not all love is. Actually, here, love is being defined as the complete value in the sense that love is the umbrella containing all the other values. So if you have all other values all together, all other values, when you have all the behavioral values all together, that that is love. In the sense that whatever they may need, you come up and express your, then you live out any value that they require in the situation because you are completely dedicated to that person. It is not felt towards one person, it is felt towards everyone, actually. So it is the ultimate destination. All of that comes up. It is what is the ability or the capacity of the what's divine human being. So there's humane, um,
Superhuman.
deific human. Huh? What were the words we used? I can't remember the English words.
Superhuman would be appropriate.
There are three levels. So Manav, Dev Manav, Divya Manav. I think we've translated it as human, deific human, and divine human. And the only difference between these three, it's nothing magical or anything. It's just our capacity to be complementary to others, our capacity to be aligned with others, to be harmonious with others. And to experience and live out love is the ultimate capacity. Now you will be living out whatever is needed by the other person. So that is a very large capacity. Yeah, I've actually forgotten the exact question you had asked between love and something else, no?
And respect.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had asked whether we can have love and not respect. So I would say we cannot have love and not respect. If we have love, we would have to have had all other values first. We can have respect, but not love. We can have affection, but not respect. We can have care, mamta, but not respect. So all of these can go, but love is something which is the final cumulative of all other values. So you can't have that before anything else.
Krishna, sometime if you have time, can you list out all these values like that make up love?
Yeah, I had put out the table also, I think. No, I hadn't. I'll just share the table. It's in fact, it's in the slide. The presentation Papa had given you. I'll just take a screenshot out of that only and put it.
And give it on WhatsApp, then I'll save it. You know?
हाँ.
अभी chat में चला जाए.
Any value that is a subset of a larger value can be can stand on its own without the higher value. But if the higher value is present, then the other ones that are below it have to be there. Like that's because they're essential component of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the principle, not just for values of anything. The larger whole always comprises the smaller. So, hi. I think the sound has not connected as yet.
Okay.
Hi. Hi. I'm not sure. Okay, wait. I'll just ask Manjuji since you've raised your hand. Did you have something to ask? Manjuji? You have your hand raised, but you're muted.
Raised before when she was asking me.
Acha, tab se it's been raised? Okay.
Yeah, it was raised then. I lost this thing. 1 second.
Okay.
Put it down.
Okay. Hi, Basavita Didi.
Hi.
Hi. So nice to see you.
Yeah, I was just on WhatsApp and I saw that Rajiv just messaged joining in a minute. So, yeah.
So good to have you join in. We just do these sessions every 3 days a week in which we're listening to the recordings and I translate bits as we go. And then if there are any thoughts or discussions, then we just discuss those.
Yes.
So you've met Rajiv, you've met Pashwa Didi, of course. And this is Manjuji. She is from Dehradun. And
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. I stay in Hyderabad.
Oh, okay.
Have you met at the Jeevan Vidya workshop? I don't.
She attended for 2 days.
Oh, she went. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we were talking about these values and the part of so in justice, there is the definition of justice involves 4 steps, and the part of mutual evaluation actually makes us actually develops the need for us to understand values and relationships. Because in the absence of mutual evaluation, we can go on thinking whatever we have understood by our definitions of the names of each relationship or any value, that is sufficient. But it's when we engage in mutual evaluation that we see the need to come to a deeper and more universal understanding, a shared understanding. Okay. Does that address what you were?
Yes.
Okay. So anything else from yesterday? We had just started this section.
No, Drishta, all okay.
Okay. So yesterday we had just started the section. He was talking about how, since he has been able to live out this humane conduct, therefore he believes that so can everyone else. And that is the basis for his sharing it. And he says that humane conduct is naturally acceptable to everyone, because humans have been seeking humanness, have been seeking orderly living, and orderly living itself is humanness. Therefore, humanness is acceptable, and humanness itself is humane conduct. So therefore, humane conduct is acceptable to all humans. So this is the basis for sharing it with all other human beings also, he says.
मानव जाति मानवत्व के लिए तृषित है ही। इसमें कोई शंका करने की मुझको तो जरूरत नहीं है।
So humankind has been thirsting for humanness. There is no need for doubting this. At least I see no need to doubt this.
आपको हो तो आप प्रयत्न करके देखिएगा।
If you have any doubts, then you can attempt to clear them up.
मानवत्व मानव का स्वत्व है, उसको छोड़ करके कहीं भाग नहीं पाएंगे। आज नहीं कल, कल नहीं परसों, उस जगह में आना ही है।
So humanness is Svatva is a difficult word. I can't remember how we translated it. Humanness is the
Essence? Not essence.
essence. Yeah, it's half of that. So Svatva means the
Intrinsic,
third essence.
intrinsic.
Intrinsic, like it's like we have the authority over it. It is our own thing. We had translated it once after thinking about it.
What is the Hindi word?
Svatva. Svatva.
It's our nature, intrinsic nature.
Almost. It's more like because these are all connected words. We have but they're slightly distinct, slightly different topics over here. And our nature is our swabhav. Svatva is what we have authority over, naturally, intrinsically have authority over. So humanness or humane conduct is something humans naturally have authority over. That okay, let me, instead of translating the word, let me just say it like that. It is our natural property, or not really, or what we own, something like that. 1 second, let me just check. Yeah, possession is not quite it, but it's close. Anyway, let me just use what we have, what we possess, or what we have authority over. So humanness is something humankind innately or naturally has authority over.
आज नहीं कल, कल नहीं परसों, उसको छोड़ करके कहीं भाग नहीं पाएंगे। आज नहीं कल, कल नहीं परसों, उस जगह में आना ही है।
So we cannot run away from that. We can't leave it behind and run away from it. Whether it's today or tomorrow or the day after, sometime or the other, we must approach this innate authority of ours, which is humanness.
मानवत्व ही
Oi, what happened?
शास्त्र के लिए तृषित है। मैं समझता हूँ आप प्रयत्न करके देखिए, उसको छोड़ करके कहीं भाग नहीं पाएंगे। आज नहीं कल, कल नहीं परसों, उस जगह में आना ही है।
So whether it's today or tomorrow or the day after, sometime or the other, we have to reach it, humanness.
मानवत्व ही शाश्वत व्यवस्था का सूत्र है।
It is humanness itself that is the principle for eternal orderliness.
मानव परंपरा में के रूप में शाश्वत व्यवस्था के रूप में यदि जीना चाहता है तो मानवत्व ही मानव का व्यवस्था का सूत्र है।
If humans wish to live in the form of a continuum, a form of a tradition, in the form of an order, then the only principle behind that is humanness.
मानव परंपरा के लिए इतनी बड़ी भारी संपदा हर एक व्यक्ति में समाहित है, इस बात को मैंने देखा है।
So such a huge resource for human tradition is endowed in each and every human being. That is something that I have seen for myself. So this authority that each individual has, this authority is each of us have the power. We each possess the capacity for humanness. And that he's saying I have observed.
इसकी संभावना तो समाहित ही है। तो प्रमाण हर व्यक्ति की इच्छा, आवश्यकता और उत्सव के आधार पर है।
So at least its possibility is present in each individual. Its evidence depends on each individual's desire, need, and utsukta is enthusiasm.
यही हर व्यक्ति सुखी होने की आधार है।
And this itself, this capacity itself is the basis for each individual becoming happy.
यदि एक व्यक्ति में यदि ऐसे गुण आता व्यवस्था की, बाकी सब यांत्रिकता के रूप में चलते रहे, जो आदिकाल से ऐसा आशा किया गया है, उससे सभी कोई उत्सवित और खुशहाल हो ही जाते। जब
Now, if these qualities were to be achieved in one individual, that means these qualities of humanness were to be achieved in one individual, and all others were to continue living mechanically, as has been desired or as has been imagined since time immemorial, that such a thing would happen. One individual would become humane, everyone else would remain mechanical, and that way human beings could all flourish and celebrate. That has been this sort of imagination has existed since time immemorial.
ऐसा नहीं हुआ।
But that has not happened. And this again, he's referencing a conversation he had much earlier where he talked about how idealism has proposed that there will be one hero, there will be one avatar, or there will be one messiah who will be wise and humane, and that one wise hero basically will help all other human beings flourish. But he's saying that has never actually happened. That never works out.
तो कोई आदमी तो गद्दी में बैठा ही रहा है, तो सबको को सुख कहाँ मिला?
Because as we can see, there has always been some one person who has been seated on the gaddi on the seats of power. There always has been someone individual who has occupied the seats of power, and yet they have not been able to help everyone else flourish.
तो गद्दी में बैठा हुआ आदमी को भी सुख कैसे मिला? इसको शोध करने पर यही निकलती है। तो गद्दी में बैठा हुआ आदमी को भी कोई कहीं राज्य, स्वराज्य और स्वतंत्रता ये मिला नहीं है।
And then how does the person who is occupying the seat of power also deriving happiness? So when we examine that, we find that even the person seated in the seat of power has not been able to achieve independence, self-governance, autonomy, or happiness.
और जो उसको गद्दी को ताकने वालों को भी नहीं मिला है, गद्दी को देखते निरखते रहे हैं उन लोगों को भी नहीं मिला है, और सुनने वालों को भी नहीं मिला.
And this, which is independence, autonomy, and happiness, has neither been achieved by those who've been aspiring towards that seat of power, who have been facilitating the individuals in the seats of power, or those who have been ruled by the seat of power. So he's basically saying anyone, there has been this proposed model of some seat of power and all those other common people. None of these people in this model have been able to achieve happiness, autonomy, and independence.
और किसी को कुछ मिलने की जरूरत नहीं है, वो संभावना भी नहीं है. इस विधि से हम चारों ओर से अभी तक की.
And he says, and nothing else has any need for attaining this independence and autonomy and happiness, and nor is there any possibility. So he's talking about in this system that we've been following, which is this political system, politico-religious system historically that we've been following. In such a system, no human being has attained independence, autonomy, and happiness. And here he described the different levels of human beings in these systems. So the person is in power, the person hoping for power, the person is facilitating power, and those ruled by power. None of them have attained these. And then besides these, in such a system, you have the animal world, the plant world, and the material world. None of these have any need or possibility for attaining independence, autonomy, and happiness. So all in all, nothing in this system has achieved happiness, autonomy, and independence.
खोज पड़ताल करने पर पता लगता है खाली हाथे लगता है. कोई ऐतिहासिक रूप में हमको ऐसा कुछ आधार नहीं मिलता है जहां से इतिहास के कड़ी के साथ हम कड़ी जोड़ करके चल सके.
Right. So when we really dig into this, we find no historical basis of saying that we have achieved anything, that we have achieved independence, autonomy, or happiness in this. Nothing to say that we can use this as something to to build upon for the future, or something to continue into the future.
एक बहुत बड़ी भारी रिक्त स्थली है. मैं समझता हूँ मानव इसी कगार में आज खड़ा है.
So this is a very major lacuna, and I believe that this is the state, or this is the this is the state that humans are standing in at today.
तो इस रिक्त स्थली को पटना तो एक आवश्यकता ही है मानव जाति के लिए. इस पटने की द्रव्य कहाँ है, इसको खोजने पर मुझको जो प्रमाणित हुई है, मुझ में प्रमाणित हुई है, और वो हर मानव में मानवत्व के रूप में ही मटेरियल है.
So now this lacuna has to be filled, and how I have been able to fill this lacuna within myself is the way that all other human beings will also fill it, and the material for that is humanness. The filler material for this lacuna is humanness.
उसको जागृत करने के लिए बात आई, इसके लिए सुझाव दी गई थी मानवीय शिक्षा.
So how to facilitate that? For that we had given this proposal that to facilitate humanness in each human being, what we require is a humane education.
मानवीय शिक्षा के बारे में भी अपन काफी दूर तक चर्चा किए हैं.
Now we have already discussed humane education to some extent already.
और इसके बारे में और विशद कार्य कर चुके हैं हम लोग. इन सारे कार्यों को भी आप लोग जब इच्छा होता है तब देख सकते हैं, या आपके इच्छा अनुसार इसमें.
And if any of you are interested, you can also dig deeper and examine these programs and activities that we have done in line with humane education. If in accordance with your desire, you can explore these.
कोई आग्रह कुछ भी नहीं है.
There is no insistence upon this.
हम जो कुछ भी किए हैं अपने स्वयं स्फूर्त, अपने खुशहाली के लिए किए हैं. दूसरों को ना तो उपकार करने के लिए किए हैं, एहसान लादने के लिए भी नहीं किए हैं, स्वयं खुशी के लिए किए हैं.
All that we have done, all that I think he means by when he says we, he means I. All that I have done for my own happiness. It has not been to which one did he say first?
अपने स्वयं स्फूर्त, अपने खुशहाली के लिए किए हैं. दूसरों को ना तो उपकार करने के लिए किए हैं, एहसान लादने के लिए भी नहीं किए हैं, स्वयं खुशी के लिए किए हैं.
So all that I have done voluntarily for my own happiness. It has not been for the beneficence of others exactly, nor has it been to ehsan ladne ko, how will you say that in English? To burden someone with my with your charity. So neither has it been to neither has this been done out of some sort of beneficence, and nor has it been to impose my charity on others. All that I have done in this educational program is out of and for my own happiness. So this is a very clear distinction, actually. Interesting that he should say this, that this is not even out of upkar, because that means he's placing upkar much beyond what he is doing. It can be confused otherwise. Right now he's saying, see, for my own happiness, I voluntarily feel the need to do this. That's why I'm doing it. Upkar is when it is actually the evidence of the divine human being, which we already mentioned little earlier, where all that you're doing is just for the benefit of others. You are not deriving anything from it. You don't need anything back now. But when you are at the level of the human, that means you've just entered living into humanness. From the outside, it may seem like you're doing a lot of upkar, you're doing beneficence, which is something just for the other person with nothing in return. But actually here he's saying, from the outside, it may look like that, but actually I'm doing it because this makes me happy. It's like right now also, when I am doing these sessions or anything like that, it may seem like, it ends up helping a lot of people, but actually I'm doing it because for me also it's beneficial. It's feeling really good to me also when I do this. It's productive for my own growth. So of course, it feels good that I'm able to help someone, and it's true for any of us actually, whenever we go about doing something like this voluntarily. But we must remember that if it was solely for the other person, we would continue it even when we did not need it for ourselves. Whereas right now, because we're in this journey for self-growth, we have not become fulfilled yet. We have not become fully evidenced yet. We end up naturally prioritizing things that help in our own growth, in our own sense of fulfillment, in our own sense of evidence. So that is a clear distinction between whether I'm doing something for the other or for myself, and actually on the side as a byproduct, I also end up helping others. It's a great distinction actually, when a lot of times in our relationships, and that this is important to that mutual evaluation thing also, we often end up saying that, oh, but I did all this for you, or because we feel that, whatever I did benefited you. Of course, what we do benefits others, but we are doing it because we feel like doing it. So first and foremost, we're doing it for ourselves. And in our sense of self, we have somehow associated with the other. Therefore, we feel like doing something for the other. But it's not just that we're doing it solely for them. That is a very clear distinction. So it's very interesting to me that he said over here that this whole thing in education, at that point that he is doing, this is out of his voluntary happiness his own voluntary happiness. For his own happiness, he is doing it, not as beneficence, not even as charity. Of course, charity is a bit lower. I mean, of course, much lower because it's imposed and it's a bit patronizing, whereas beneficence is not like that. But he's saying neither is it charity, but nor is it beneficence. It is just for my own happiness. This is my own evidence. So he's placing himself actually at the level of human, not a divine human as yet.
खुशी से ही किए हैं और खुशहाली के लिए ही किए हैं, ये कुल मिलाकर के आपको ये बात बताना चाहा.
So I've only done it out of my own happiness and for my own happiness and for for more happiness, well-being.
इस क्रम में हम आपको सब स्वतंत्र और स्वराज्य में वैभवित होने की आकांक्षा से आपको ये सब बातें सूचना के रूप में प्रस्तुत करने की इच्छा हुआ.
And in that process, this desire for all of you also to have this principle for independence and autonomy emerged in me. So this desire emerged in him that the rest of us should also have the principle for autonomy and independence. And he's saying this desire emerged in the process of living out his own happiness. I'm living, and then I realize, I am happy, but what would make me even more happier is if they could also be like this. So it's helping us, but he's saying this is emerging in the process of my own happiness, actually.
और कोई मुद्दा भी नहीं है.
And there is no other sort of agenda even.
इच्छा आपकी, आवश्यकता आपकी, प्रयास तो आप हमारा सम्मिलित इस ढंग से काम होगी.
So the desire is yours, the need is yours. Attempt would be a cumulative or effort of yours and mine, and that is how it will move forward.
प्रयास तो आप हमारा सम्मिलित इस ढंग से काम होगी. इस क्रम में हम आगे इसका कड़ी.
So this is how it will work out. So it has to be your desire, your need, and in our attempts to achieve this independence, autonomy, and happiness, we will put in the efforts together. This is interesting, actually, when thinking about the values of the human being. In humanness, there are 6 values, which is patience, courage, generosity. These are the set of first 3. Then there is kindness, benevolence, and compassion. So, oh wow, you remembered them. So what he is actually describing right now is the state before kindness. So when he's saying, actually it could also overlap with kindness, because he's saying the need is yours, the desire to understand has to be yours, and the need has to be yours, and I can only support that. Whereas the value of benevolence and compassion is when the other person doesn't have the need, then you help them even develop the need. So that's a higher capacity. So he's saying he's not there yet. That's not what he's doing just now. He is in, I think you could say this is kindness.
ये है, हम बोधपूर्वक माने अनुभव का बोध होने के आधार पर है. हम इस क्रम में हम आगे इसका कड़ी ये है, हम बोधपूर्वक माने अनुभव का बोध होने के आधार पर. अनुभव प्रामाणिकता है, प्रामाणिकता बोध बुद्धि में होता है, बुद्धि.
So in this process, the next step is that I will, on the basis of my comprehension, that means on the basis of the comprehension of anubhav, of realization that I have had in my buddhi, and then he'll describe it further.
हम बोधपूर्वक माने अनुभव का बोध होने के आधार पर। अनुभव प्रामाणिकता है, प्रामाणिकता बोध बुद्धि में होता है, बुद्धि का ही जब प्रवर्तन होता है उसका नाम संकल्प होता है। संकल्प के आधार पर हम अभिव्यक्ति संप्रेषित होने की इच्छा होता है, प्रमाणित करने की प्रवृत्ति आती है। हम प्रमाणित कर देखा, ये सबके लिए उपयोगी है, इसकी जरूरत है, ऐसा स्वीकार करते हुए आगे की कार्यक्रम प्रस्तुत करना शुरू किया।
So he's describing his own journey of how he started to present this sharing with everyone, this whole program of sharing Jeevan Vidya with everyone. That's the journey he's describing. He says, so what I'm describing this on the basis of my comprehension. Comprehension means on the basis of realization. So realization means authenticity. So when you have realization in the Atma, it leads to authenticity. That authenticity leads is what is comprehended in the buddhi, and that comprehension of the authenticity of realization in the buddhi is expressed in the form of resolve, and that resolve manifests as the desire to live in accordance with it, to evidence what has been realized, to evidence that authenticity, the realized truth of coexistence.
आगे इसका कड़ी ये है कि बुद्धि का ही जब प्रवर्तन होता है उसका नाम संकल्प होता है। संकल्प के आधार पर हम अभिव्यक्ति संप्रेषित होने की इच्छा होता है, प्रमाणित करने की प्रवृत्ति आती है। हम प्रमाणित कर देखा, ये सबके लिए उपयोगी है।
So realization is authenticity, which is comprehended in the buddhi. That comprehension of realization is manifested as a resolve. That resolve converts into the desire to communicate and express, and the tendency to evidence what has been realized. So you will now want to, through this process, now he wanted to communicate, express is different from communicate in the sense that our expression is everything that we do, everything that we are saying, doing, living, deciding, all of that is an expression of our internal state, right? So the desire to communicate and express the realization and to evidence it also, that tendency emerges. And when I have expressed and communicated it, I found it to be useful for everyone.
प्रवृत्ति आती है, हम प्रमाणित कर देखा, ये सबके लिए उपयोगी है, इसकी जरूरत है, ऐसा स्वीकार करते हुए आगे की कार्यक्रम प्रस्तुत करना शुरू किया।
So when I evidenced it, I found that this is useful for everyone, it is necessary, and accepting this fact, I began to present the programs beyond that, all the other programs that were developed beyond that.
तो पहला योजना यही बात रही जीवन विद्या योजना, जिसके बारे में चिंतन से चलकर संकल्प तक की आपके सम्मुख सारे जीवन क्रियाकलापों को आपको स्पष्ट करने की कोशिश की।
So the first program of this has been the Jeevan Vidya program or the Jeevan Education program, in which all the activities of the Jeevan, starting from the man to the Atma, I don't know.
जिसके बारे में योजना यही बात रही जीवन विद्या योजना, जिसके बारे में चिंतन से चलकर संकल्प तक की आपके सम्मुख सारे जीवन क्रियाकलापों को आपको स्पष्ट करने की कोशिश किया।
I wonder why he's saying this. He's saying of which, so first was the Jeevan Vidya program, within which I have tried to explain all the activities of the Jeevan, starting from the contemplation, going up till the resolve. I wonder why he is giving that as the first point and resolve as the last point, because this is just chit to buddhi. That's interesting. But yeah, there are 10 activities of the Jeevan. So Jeevan Vidya program is the Jeevan education program, is all about letting people know that there is such a thing as Jeevan, what it is, how it functions, what are its different activities, and letting people know that, see, this is who you are. This is what is happening actually inside you, or this is what you are doing.
संकल्प के पश्चात आता है चित्रण। जो संकल्प हुआ उसके अनुसार जीने की कला के लिए चित्रण स्वाभाविक रूप में चित्त में होता है।
So now after resolve comes imagination. So what that means is that whatever you have resolved, now in the chit, you will imagine how you will live according to it.
और वो चित्त, वो जो अभी तक जो हुई थी संवेदना के आधार पर, संवेदनाओं के आधार पर जीने की कला के लिए चित्रण होती थी, उसके स्थान पर हम प्रामाणिकता पूर्वक जीने की कला का चित्रण होना आरंभ होता है।
So in this chit, up till now what was happening was that all the imagination would be governed on the basis of sensations. So, all our imagination of what we should do, what we can do, what we want to do, all of that was governed on the basis of what the signals that the body was sending, the sensations. But now instead of sensations, it will be governed by evidence, by authenticity, pramanikta. So now authenticity is determining our imagination rather than sensations.
हम प्रामाणिकता पूर्वक जीने की कला का चित्रण होना आरंभ होता है।
So now the imagination of living on the basis of developing the art of living on the basis of authenticity begins.
उसका स्वरूप यह है उपकार विधि।
And the form that takes is the method of beneficence.
उपकार विधि से जब हम हमारे जो सामान्य आकांक्षा, महत्वाकांक्षाओं को चित्रित करते हैं, उस समय में यही निकलती है, हम स्वयं स्वायत्त रूप में समझदार होते हैं, परिवार में स्वायत्तता के रूप में हम समाधान समृद्धि को प्रमाणित किए रहते हैं, तभी हम उपकार करने योग्य होते हैं। ऐसी योग्यता को हम कहीं छुपा नहीं पाते हैं, वो स्वाभाविक रूप में उपकार के लिए नियोजित होती है।
So the form that this method of beneficence takes is that when we live in ourselves as an autonomous human being, then we are capable of presenting solutions in all situations. We are capable of living. Let me just do the exact word.
समझदार होते हैं, उस समय में यही निकलती है, हम स्वयं स्वायत्त रूप में समझदार होते हैं, परिवार में स्वायत्तता के रूप में हम समाधान समृद्धि को प्रमाणित किए।
So the only thing that emerges from this method of beneficence is that first, as an individual, we become autonomous and knowledgeable. Then at the level of the family, we evidence our autonomy and in the form of resolution and prosperity. Now, what does that mean? If I am autonomous, then and I'm living as a family member, what will my autonomy be? It will be the fact that I will be able to, one, I will not be affected by what is going on negatively. That means I am able to complement anything that is happening. So that means I am not getting negatively affected. I am a positive effector. So that is resolution in relationships. And then resolution at the level of the material front is that as a family member, as a family, we all have material requirements. So I am able to contribute in the production of more than the needs of my family. So that is resolution in the material front, and that is also prosperity. So this autonomy of mine at the level of the family gets evidenced as resolution and prosperity. And now when we are prosperous as the family, then we have more than the needs of the family.
एकत्रित करते हैं। परिवार में स्वायत्तता के रूप में हम समाधान समृद्धि को प्रमाणित किए रहते हैं, तभी हम उपकार करने योग्य होते हैं। ऐसी योग्यता को हम कहीं छुपा नहीं पाते हैं, वो स्वाभाविक रूप में उपकार के लिए नियोजित होती है।
So now that we are resolved and prosperous within the family, it is then that we become qualified for upkar or beneficence. Because up till then, we have to first fulfill the needs of the family, right? We can't skip that. And then, the family is lacking and we're giving to the society. That makes no sense. So first, we will have lived out autonomy at the level of family where we are evidencing resolution and prosperity. Now, on this basis, we become qualified for doing beneficence for anyone else. And that qualification, that ability cannot be hidden anywhere. It naturally gets directed towards beneficence. I think we just have about 5-7 minutes left. So maybe we can pause here. If there's any thought or question, we can discuss these topics that were covered. It's interesting because we were just discussing these partially in our
Yeah.
translation. We were just discussing the activities of the Jeevan and the lower activities getting aligned with the above, and how peace can only be after prosperity and all that.
Yeah. So when he says it can't be hidden, the last line that you said, does that mean that, is he saying that it will be obvious to others also, like when you're in that space? Because it will self automatically, because it will be also received as such, or is he saying something else? I didn't understand.
So what that means is that you have the capacity. Now you are qualified to do beneficence. You can't help but be beneficent. So, you can't keep that quality of yours subdued in any way. That
Right.
quality has to emerge, because where will it go? What do you do besides that? That is the
Right.
natural tendency. So in
Right.
that way, it will manifest, and then of course it will also become evident to other people. But before that, he's just basically just saying that that quality will manifest, the quality of beneficence.
Nice. Thanks.
Okay, anything else from what was any bit that was discussed?
I am fine for now.
One more question, like, what is it that takes somebody from like a human, like from a human to the next two steps, the deific and the divine? What is it what happens there actually? I was wondering.
Yeah, it's nothing much actually. It's basically just a sequence of evidence. It's like, obviously you will first have to evidence autonomy as an individual with full clarity inside. Only then will you be able to evidence prosperity outside at the level of the family, right? So then while you're doing that, while you're figuring out how to evidence prosperity, you can't be working at the international level, right? Because if you're working at the international level, you will not be working at the prosperity level for the family. So that way, the sequence of steps is a natural order in which nothing gets compromised, nothing gets, social work is not at the cost of the family, because that is just never fair. Also, obviously, what will you do at the level of society when you haven't figured out what justice is, even at the level of the family? So, we have nothing to give there when we haven't figured it out at the smaller scale. It's like we have a small lab situation. If we haven't figured figured out our principles there, then we have nothing to generalize and expand. So in that sense, the difference between humaneness, deific humaneness, and divine humaneness is nothing but a difference of where we have reached in our evidencing. So the knowledge between in all three is the same. Realization is unchanged. Of course, as we were also discussing this today, as you progress in your evidence, you're also improving you're also practicing this art of living. You're improving your abilities to estimate and basically your ability for estimation and projection, you're improving. Your sensitivity now, which is in line with your cognizance, which is your knowledge, allows you to become more and more and more refined at understanding, catching where the other person is. So whether it is in the material realm or in the human realm, you are better at identifying, catching the subtler and subtler signals for what is happening underneath. And then therefore you become more and more capable of complementing any situation before it gets too late, right? Often with the best of intentions, even if we have the capability to complement a situation, often we are not even able to recognize that this is what is needed in this moment, right?
Yeah,
so that also improves. And in this process, so what happens is we talked about in the workshops, we briefly touch upon this towards the end. The human beings and the non-human, the inhuman humans and the humane humans, there's a difference. One difference is considered the difference of Vishay or the motivation. What are they called? I've forgotten how they've translated it. Essentially, these are the objects of our functioning. And before realization, our primary Vishay or objects or topics, drivers, you could say, are food or nutrition. No, food, rest, sex, and fear. So these are the Vishay in inhumans. In humanity, when you become humane, then what you become, the object of your living, then becomes these three things, which are in Hindi they're called Puteshna, Viteshna, Lokeshna. So these are things that you want in return now. Now, these are all in context of evidencing realization. They are not for accumulation or for any such, personal, what do you call it, ego satisfaction or something like that. It is in alignment with evidencing coexistence only. But in the process of evidencing, you will need, you will need a family. So you will have this, Puteshna is a desire for progeny, which need not be your biological progeny. It's just a desire for having, for passing on whatever you have to the next generation. So for that, you need to have a next generation in your care. So that is Putreshna, which is one desire. Then the other desire is Viteshna, which is a desire for wealth, which is in order to evidence prosperity and orderly living, you need to have material resources also. So you will be working for that. Like you will be working for your progeny, you will be also dedicating your time for material resources. So that is Viteshna. And then there is Lokeshna, which is a desire for recognition. So if you want to spread, if you want to evidence coexistence and truth, that means you want to evidence what you have understood by helping others understand it. You have a certain need, and also to evidence living in orderliness. Then you have this need that, if I am doing something, say if I start an educational program, I want the evidence that it is working well, that people are actually understanding, and that they are able to carry it forward to the next person also. Because so the evidence of my having understood is that I'm able to explain it to you. And the evidence that you have understood is that you are able to explain it to the other person, or capable of helping the other understand. So the evidence that I have understood is actually when the person you have explained to understands. So it's a chain reaction in that way. For all of us to feel that, oh, we have actually understood something, we need to see that our sort of the people we have passed it on to are also able to pass it on to someone else, because that will show us that they actually got it. So that in one way, that itself is a sort of recognition. When people are able to recognize not necessarily you as an individual, but what you are embodying, what you are talking about, and what you are proposing, because that is showing you that what you had is true for the other also. And then also, as you're living as a beyond the family, when you're living in a system, you've maybe started like a community system where you have certain systems of exchange and production that you're figured out, and this is working well. And you then want to share it with other people because you realize that this is a need for everyone. So the deific human, actually, the second level, is someone who's living at the level of systems. So you can imagine, the family level human being is the individual, maybe you could say, post their education stage when they've gotten married and they're starting a family. Now, once they've settled down as a family person, now they start working more at the level of society, right? Because their family needs are all settled. Now they'll be functioning at the level of society, figuring out systems, figuring out people and arrangements, and functioning at that level, maybe busy at, say, like the society administration and all of that sort of thing. And that sort of system that you come together with other such people to develop, if it is working well, you want it to be recognized as working well because you want it to spread also. You want others to be able to do it because that is that also ensures the integrity of what you are, your system. You cannot be living in isolation from the rest of society, because actually sustainable system or an actually robust system is that which is universally integrated. So for that integration, you need some sort of recognition also of that system. So therefore, there is a legitimate humane need for recognition as well. But pure beneficence, which is the divine human being, that pure beneficence is when all of these needs have been fulfilled. Now you don't even need these. So now you have no object, you have no objective in doing anything. You are purely doing it for the other person. So that is the quality of the divine human being. So it's just a next level of evidencing. It is a bit, you can go into as much detail as you like, but essentially it's just series of evidence.
No, it makes sense. And basically it's just also helping us to see that it's a progression and in an order, in a specific order, rather. You kind of skip this and do that first and then this. It kind of has a inherent progression in it, right? Something.
Yeah, that's very, very, very important. That you can't skip steps. It's a progression. Okay. So, anything else? Okay, then let's meet next week. All right. I'll send you that chart of values in the group.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.